At my wedding with Zhou Jin, my sister claimed she had been reborn. Sobbing, she rushed onto the stage and threw herself into Zhou Jin's arms. It turns out you're the one who loved me most. Don't marry my sister. I can't lose you again. With just those words, she convinced Zhou Jin to call off our wedding. Jiangyu, let's talk about the wedding another time. I took off my veil and placed it on my sister's head. There won't be another time for us, since we're already in this atmosphere. Why don't you two get married today? 1. As the ceremony reached the vows, the officiant asked Zhou Jin, Mr. Zhou Jin, do you take Jiangyu to be your wife, to love and cherish her, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, till death do you part? Zhou Jin scanned the crowd below, as if searching for someone, but he apparently didn't find who he was looking for. I could see the disappointment on his face. I do. Before he could finish speaking, the chapel doors suddenly swung open from outside. It was my own sister, Jiang Lin. She'd clearly said she was going sailing with her boyfriend and wouldn't attend the wedding. Why show up unannounced? My heart skipped a beat with a sudden sense of foreboding. Drenched from head to toe, Jiang Lin gazed with pitiful eyes at Zhou Jin, the man who was about to become my husband. I'm sorry, Zhou Jin, I came too late, in front of all the guests. She rushed onto the stage and threw herself into Zhou Jin's arms. You're the one who truly loves me most in this world. I'm sorry, Zhou Jin. I realized it too late. Though Zhou Jin wore a dazed expression, his arms instinctively wrapped around her in return. It was a reflex action. I watched the expressions on his face shift from initial bewilderment to surprise, then to secret delight. Finally, he locked eyes with Jiang Lin in a tender gaze. I began to believe what Jiang Lin had said. The man I'd loved for 6 years had always been in love with my own sister. They embraced like no one else existed, lost in passion as their lips drew closer for a kiss. I cleared my throat sharply. Jin, are we still getting married today? Jiang Lin finally noticed me in my wedding dress. Don't marry my sister, Zhou Jin. I've already lost you once. I can't bear to lose you again. She began to cry, her tears so pitiful they tugged at my heartstrings. I spent a whole year meticulously preparing for this wedding. To stand beside him in my wedding dress, I started dieting and working out 6 months in advance. I silently begged Zhou Jin not to humiliate me at this moment, but after a brief hesitation, he still chose to call off the wedding. Jiangyu, Jiang Lin isn't in a good place right now. Can we postpone the wedding? Her bad mood has nothing to do with our wedding, but I wouldn't ask him that, at that moment. I felt as if a weight had been lifted from my heart. I took off the pristine white veil and placed it on Jiang Lin's head. We're over. Since we're all in the mood, why don't you two just get married today? I'll get out of your way. 2. The wedding was called off after I left. When they got home, Dad shot me a glare before heading to the balcony for a smoke. Mom jabbed her finger at my head, scolding, where are your manners? With all those guests around, you just walked out like that. How do you expect your father and me to show our faces in public after this? The real culprit who ruined my wedding was clearly my sister Jiang Lin, yet she escaped all the blame. She's been curled up on the couch scrolling through her phone since she got back, with this radiant, smug smile playing on her lips. My bet is she's texting Zhou Jin. I made a clean exit at the wedding, but that doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Their collective attitude just rubbed salt in the wound. For the first time in my life, I talked back. Sis already said Zhou Jin is her true love. You and Dad always taught me to yield to her since childhood. How could I possibly compete with her for someone she likes? Jiang Lin finally looked up from her phone to meet my gaze. Are you blaming me? I smiled. You've got it all wrong, sis. Jiang Lin rolled her eyes at me and slumped back on the couch. If Zhou Jin chooses to love me, what can I do? You're just pathetic. True, I am pathetic. But that still doesn't justify ruining her own sister's wedding, does it? Today's events completely caught me off guard. Jiang Lin, who always looked down on Zhou Jin, suddenly declared they were soulmates. On top of that, she kept insisting she'd been reborn. I was just figuring out how to get more information out of her. Mom beat me to it and asked, Lin, seriously, what's really going on between you and Zhou Jin? Jiang Lin pouted and looked at my mom with teary eyes. Mom, I've really been reborn. In my past life, I suffered so much. Eventually, neither you nor Dad loved me anymore. When I was dying, Zhou Jin flew back from abroad just for me. That's when I realized how deeply he cared. Mom's skeptical expression said it all. Yet something about Jiang Lin's words rang true to me. Sis, this is just absurd. I kept fishing for information deliberately. Don't believe me. Jiang Lin shot me a disdainful glance. Then she handed me her phone. This was my old QQ account. I stopped using it, but Zhou Jin kept messaging me. Jiangyu, whether you believe it or not, Zhou Jin has always loved me. I could tell it was definitely Zhou Jin's QQ account. Scrolling up revealed messages Zhou Jin had sent her years ago. I saw you on the street today. I wanted to say hi, but you were always surrounded by friends. I've liked you for a year, yet you don't even know my name. Jiang Lin, after middle school graduation. Can we go to the same high school and stay classmates? Your sister became my junior at school. Since I can't be your husband, I'll keep loving you as family. What a grand romance this is. If I weren't the victim here, I'd actually be cheering for them, but none of that matters. The real issue is Zhou Jin and Jiang Lin shouldn't have attended the same middle school. He clearly told me he attended the affiliated middle school for junior high. 3. When I got up to use the bathroom at midnight. Jiang Lin's room next door still had its light on. The door wasn't fully closed, light squeezed through the crack and fell across my feet. I was about to leave when I suddenly heard Mom's voice from her room. Lin, what if Xiao Wang finds out about your little scene today? The Xiao Wang Mom keeps mentioning is my sister's current boyfriend Wang Qingqing. His family is quite wealthy, and my parents have always been very pleased with this future son-in-law, compared to Wang Qingqing. Zhou Jin seems utterly ordinary, his family background is average, his job is mediocre. That's why my parents initially objected to me marrying him. It was only after my persistent insistence that they finally relented. With Xiao Wang's excellent qualities, how could that Zhou Jin possibly measure up? Are you as blind as your sister? I've always known Mom never thought highly of Zhou Jin. I stood by the door waiting for Jiang Lin's response. I was genuinely curious too. If Zhou Jin's love was the only reason, Jiang Lin would never have left Wang Qingqing for him. She's not the type to prioritize romance above all else. Jiang Lin is incredibly selfish. She only cares about herself. Mom, you shouldn't be so short-sighted in life. Don't be fooled by Wang Qingqing's family wealth now. They'll go bankrupt eventually. But Zhou Jin will keep getting promoted and eventually become the head of a branch company. Mom still didn't believe it. Really, honestly, with Zhou Jin's current shabby state, you think I'd choose him otherwise? Don't judge by appearances. He's actually brilliant. His company's boss kept promoting him precisely because his project proposals were outstanding. Just as I thought, Jiang Lin only knows Zhou Jin will become wealthy later, but she doesn't realize everything he has came from me. That business proposal she keeps praising, the one that got Zhou Jin noticed, was entirely my work. With that idiot who barely scraped through college credits, do you really think he could have achieved the bright future she's describing? Mom, please help me steal Zhou Jin back, otherwise, my life will be miserable. Mom hesitated, but that's the person Jiang Yu is going to marry. Mom, don't you remember what you told me when I was little? That I'm your one and only precious daughter. I stared blankly at the sliver of light falling across my feet. Oh, fine, you're right that Zhou Jin's heart has always belonged to you. I guess we can only blame Jiang Yu for not being able to win him over. I took a step back, and the light vanished from my feet. Then I found myself completely engulfed in darkness. So in Mom's heart, Jiang Lin was always her one and only precious daughter. But deep down, I've always known the truth, haven't I? My parents always played favorites since I was little. In other families, older sisters look after younger siblings, but in ours, my parents' most frequent words to me were, "Let your sister have her way." Pretty dresses always went to my sister first. Only when she didn't like them or grew tired of them would they become mine. All the snacks at home were bought for my sister. I wasn't allowed to touch them. When I was little, my sister caught me sneaking snacks and slapped me across the face, as I lay crying on the floor. My sister tearfully tattled to our mom about me stealing her treats. Mom kicked me and yelled, "You always take everything. Why don't you go steal rat poison and kill yourself?" In that moment, I stopped crying and just stared at her in disbelief. I can't believe my own mother would curse me like that. I've never understood why there's such a huge difference in how they treat me compared to my sister. We're both their children. Only later did I realize my arrival was never welcomed from the beginning. I was an accidental pregnancy. Mom wanted to abort me, but Dad persuaded her to keep me in case I was a boy. They had a huge fight over this. It wasn't until my sister said she wanted a baby brother that Mom agreed to have me, but my arrival disappointed everyone. I was a girl, not the son my father hoped for, nor the brother my sister wanted, so they named me Jiangyu, you meaning superfluous. Though I've always known I wasn't loved, hearing it out loud still stings. I used to find excuses to console myself. But now I must face the truth. I'm truly an unwanted child. Hearing footsteps, I knew Mom was about to come out. I quickly wiped away my tears and ducked into my room. Mom paused outside my door and muttered, "If we'd never had Jiangyu in the first place, we wouldn't be dealing with all this trouble now." 4. I took a week off for the wedding. Mom woke me up at dawn to help with breakfast. "Young people don't need that much sleep, go wash the vegetables now." Yet Jiang Lin was still sound asleep. The doorbell suddenly rang. It was Zhou Jin and his parents. After hearing Jiang Lin's words last night, whether Mom believed them or not, her attitude toward Zhou Jin had noticeably softened. She thought they were here to see Jiang Lin, so her mother hurried to call her. To her surprise, Zhou Jin's mother said, "Well, in-laws, we're actually here to apologize to Xiaoyu, Jiangyu." Her mother shot an awkward glance at Zhou Jin. Jiang Lin had already come out of her room, and the mother-daughter pair exchanged looks. Zhou Jin's mother acted as if Jiang Lin wasn't even there. "Coming over to take my hand, Xiaoyu. Zhou Jin was wrong to hurt you. He's still immature. We gave him a proper talking to yesterday. Could you find it in your heart to forgive him this once? For the sake of all your years together. And for my sake as his mother, let's have the wedding again. His father and I have agreed, we'll cover all expenses for an even grander ceremony this time." Truth be told, Zhou Jin's parents never particularly liked me to begin with. They think I'm too capable, outshining Zhou Jin in every way, and worry he wouldn't be able to keep me in check after marriage. Yet when forced to choose between me and Jiang Lin, they immediately side with me without hesitation. I looked up at Zhou Jin, only to see him exchanging intimate glances with Jiang Lin. The two had somehow ended up standing together, even holding hands right in front of all of us. "Auntie, please don't make things difficult for me or Zhou Jin." Following my gaze, Zhou Jin's parents immediately turned frosty. Zhou Jin tried to pull his hand back, but Jiang Lin held on tight, shooting me a defiant look. Meanwhile, I was laughing at Jiang Lin's stupidity in my head. True to form, Zhou Jin's mother slapped him across the face in fury. "Have you forgotten what you promised me and your father last night? We swallowed our pride to plead for you, and this is how you repay us with such disgraceful behavior." Always eager to be the center of attention, Jiang Lin immediately tried to defend Zhou Jin when she saw him get hit. "Auntie, you can't just shut your mouth, you shameless hussy, seducing my son. Even your own sister's husband wasn't safe from your claws. What kind of upbringing did your parents give you?" Jiang Lin's parents couldn't bear seeing her slighted and immediately stepped in. "How dare you speak like that? It's your shameless son who's two-timing, dating Jiangyu while still carrying a torch for our eldest daughter Jiang Lin." The argument between both families escalated, with Zhou Jin's parents pinning all the blame on Jiang Lin. Her parents threw the accusation right back at them. When the shouting finally died down, Zhou Jin's mother turned to me. "Xiaoyu, I've long considered you my daughter-in-law. You and Zhou Jin have come so far together." I handed her a tissue. "Wipe your tears, Auntie." Then I turned to Zhou Jin and voiced my confusion. "Zhou Jin, you told my sister you were middle school classmates, but I distinctly remember you saying you attended the affiliated high school. Were you lying to me?" Zhou Jin froze momentarily. He'd probably anticipated what questions I might ask today, ask if he ever loved me, or why he treated me this way. He had all the answers ready for these questions. He just never expected me to ask something completely unrelated. This question meant nothing to him, but it meant the world to me. He froze for a moment before nodding. "When you said you were from the affiliated high school, I lied to you. Was that story about saving a drowning girl also a lie?" Zhou Jin hesitated before answering. "I did save someone during a school water safety demonstration." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. No wonder he'd always change the subject or claim forgetfulness whenever we talked about the affiliated high school. Turns out I'd been wrong from the very beginning. He wasn't the Zhou Jin I'd been looking for at all. 5. Zhou Jin and his parents have already left. After they left, my parents cursed out the entire Zhou family. They dare say we don't know how to raise a daughter. What kind of decent man is their son anyway? Seeing me grab my bag to leave, Jiang Lin stopped me. "Where do you think you're going?" In a hurry to leave, I lost my usual patience with her and snapped back with a frown. "What's it to you? Of course it matters. Are you going to see Zhou Jin? Jiangyu, have you no shame?" Seeing me talk back, Jiang Lin started stamping her feet and throwing a tantrum. "Zhou Jin and I truly love each other. Why are you meddling in our relationship like some homewrecker?" I was utterly stunned. "Forget that I'm not interested in Zhou Jin right now. Tell me, sister, Which one of us is actually the other woman? Jiang Lin's slap landed on my face before I could even react. The one who isn't loved is the real homewrecker. Seeing my parents approaching, I knew if I didn't strike now, I'd stand no chance. Once the three of them ganged up on me, I shoved Jiang Lin, sending her crashing into the shoe cabinet. I lunged forward and slapped her twice in retaliation, then hissed in her ear, "Zhou Jin's mother was right, you're nothing but trash." Jiang Lin clutched her face in disbelief, sobbing for her parents. Before they could come to her defense, I'd already bolted out the door. Even inside the elevator, I could still hear moms yelling from outside. "Don't you dare come back. If you leave, I never should have had you in the first place. I never should have had you." I've heard this phrase my entire life, heard it countless times. 6. The city has changed dramatically over the years, and my parents have moved several times. Step by step, they've moved from one end of the city to the other. The affiliated high school was quite far from my home, and it was already noon when I arrived. The security guard was having lunch when I asked if I could go in. The old man glanced up from his plate and gave me a nod. The school's honor wall has seen generations of faces come and go, and most teachers who once taught me have already retired. After much effort, I found a senior teacher and asked, "Do you remember Zhou Jin?" So many years have passed, leaving only a faint shadow in my memory. After a moment's hesitation, I added, "Someone from my graduating class, or maybe a year ahead of me." The teacher gave an apologetic smile. "With so many new students every year, I honestly can't recall." True enough, it's been so many years after all. Walking around campus, I couldn't find even a trace of how things used to be. Forget it, just drop it if you really can't find it. Just left school when I accidentally bumped into an uncle carrying boxes from the bookstore. I apologized while helping him pick up the scattered old newspapers. "These are all old newspapers, can they still sell?" Uncle smiled and said, "They'll sell." My eyes landed on a stack of 15-year-old newspapers, drawn to the name Zhou Jin printed on them. Noticing my pause, Uncle leaned over to glance at the paper and remarked, "Zhou Jin was a student at the affiliated high school back then, quite an outstanding young man." I nodded, and a tear suddenly splashed onto the newspaper. "You know him?" I nodded, then shook my head. "Do I really know him, or don't I?" 7. The year we graduated from elementary school, I got into the affiliated middle school while Jiang Lin had to settle for a private school due to poor grades. Her dislike for me used to be just petty squabbles. It wasn't until I entered the affiliated school that I truly realized she genuinely wished me dead. That time Jiang Lin pushed me into the river, I begged her desperately to save me. She watched me struggle in the river with cold detachment, as if observing an insignificant insect. It wasn't until someone spotted me and jumped in to rescue me that she scurried away like a startled rat. My rescuer wore the uniform of the affiliated high school, just a kid about my age, Zhou Jin. Just before blacking out from drowning, I heard his friend call him that name. I spent days unconscious in the hospital, and the moment I woke up, my parents couldn't wait to ship me off to grandma's in the countryside. I had a hunch, maybe they knew Jiang Lin was the one who pushed me in. Yet they chose silence. Before boarding the train, I asked Mom, "How's the person who saved me doing?" I can't recall Mom's exact expression then, but I remember her saying, "They're fine, now hurry up and get on the train." Looking back now, she might have been feeling guilty at that moment. That's why she was so insistent on rushing me away. Later, I completed both middle school and high school in the countryside. After the college entrance exams, I wanted to go back and thank the person who saved my life, but my parents wouldn't let me return. They said, "What's the point of coming back? The round-trip fare is so expensive. Wouldn't it be better to stay in the countryside and keep grandma company?" That summer was eventful. My grandmother passed away, so I had to put off my plans to meet him. On my first day at university, a complete stranger introduced himself as Zhou Jin, an alumnus of my high school. He mentioned he'd once saved a little girl from drowning. What an uncanny coincidence. So naturally, I regarded him as my savior. I fetched his meals, saved him seats, and nursed him through illnesses more attentively than his own mother would. Everyone around him called me a devoted simp, but I knew I was just repaying my life debt. Eventually even Zhou Jin himself thought I had feelings for him. He confessed to me like a perfect gentleman, and we naturally became a couple. Back then, I truly believed he'd fallen for me during our time together, until Jiang Lin claimed she'd been reborn and showed me the thousands of messages he'd sent her. That's when I realized there was no genuine affection. He only settled for me because Jiang Lin rejected him. If I'm being honest, I never truly loved Zhou Jin, otherwise I wouldn't have walked out on our wedding. I knew he was weak-willed and incompetent. Hell, I even wrote his probation to permanent proposal for him. All these years I've been propping him up, making management think he's actually competent. There's only one reason I've put up with him this long. He once saved my life. Only after realizing he loved Jiang Lin did I feel at peace letting him go. I stared at the newspaper I'd gotten from my uncle. The boy in the photo was just 14, smiling shyly with a slight upturn of his lips. I knew he'd grow into someone extraordinary. To save me, little Zhou Jin remained forever 14. I read the newspaper tributes over and over. Zhou Jin, the selfless boy hero. I'm sorry, I murmured. It was Jiang Lin who pushed me back then, making her indirectly responsible for little Zhou Jin's death. Yet my parents who knew the truth chose to send me to the countryside, shielding the murderer. 8. I didn't go home that night. They wouldn't have let me in anyway. Just as I checked into a hotel, Jiang Lin sent me a WeChat message. I tapped to open it, a photo, to be precise. An intimate shot of Jiang Lin and Zhou Jin in bed. After a brief glance, I locked my phone and started getting ready. When I didn't react, Jiang Lin called directly. Save your schemes, Zhou Jin will marry me. After spitting out the water in my mouth, I finally muttered, well, I wish you happiness. To be honest, I'm genuinely grateful to her. If it weren't for her, I might have gone my whole life without realizing I'd mistaken someone's identity. But Jiang Lin thought I was being sarcastic. Jiang Yu, stop with your passive-aggressive nonsense. Last life I was clueless, letting you have him. This time, I'll reclaim everything that's rightfully mine. Jiang Lin still thinks I'm after Zhou Jin, but honestly, I've lost all interest in him now. Frankly, I'm more intrigued by her than Zhou Jin at this point. She mentioned being reborn, so I asked her, sis, are you really reborn? What was my fate in our past life? In our past life, you stole my rightful place as Mrs. Zhou, quitting your job to live in luxury, so in this life, I'll be the one marrying into the Zhou family. Just as I thought, if I married Zhou Jin, I'd inevitably end up compromising myself. His parents never liked how domineering I was, always overshadowing Zhou Jin in everything. From Jiang Lin's words, I've pieced together the story of my past self, quit my job to become a housewife, then helped Zhou Jin with strategies and proposals at home, propelling his career to new heights until he became head of the branch office. But I was clearly someone with great ambitions. I truly wanted to carve out my own path in my field of expertise and reign as the queen at the top. Sis, thank you. I genuinely meant my gratitude, but Jiang Lin took it as sarcasm. Listen Jiang Yu, being Mrs. Zhou means nothing, even in his last breath during our past life. Zhou Jin's heart belonged to me, so don't you dare pull any stunts. He never loved you. Not for a single moment. Have some dignity and stop clinging to him shamelessly. I didn't catch a single word of what followed, standing before the hotel's floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the brilliant starlight outside. I knew my future would shine just as bright without Zhou Jin in it. Little Tiger Bot prevents document forgery. For book scanning bots, choose Little Tiger, reliable and hassle-free. When I returned home the next day, I discovered my parents had already changed the locks. 9. I knocked, only to hear my father's voice through the door. Ran away, did you? Then go die out there, don't bother coming back. Okay. I dug out my old keys from the bag and left them by the door. After moving out, I rented an apartment near the office. Only after settling in did I call Zhou Jin. I'll come by tonight to pick up my things. I hadn't planned to go back, but some company documents were still in that room from when we shared the place. Zhou Jin was home alone when he saw me. Suddenly he asked, where have you been these past 2 days? None of your business, I said flatly. Can I go pack my things now? Zhou Jin fell silent, but still stepped aside to make way. He followed me into the room and said, Jiang Yu, my parents still want us to get married. What do you think? When his parents came to mind the other day, I thought I'd made my stance perfectly clear, so I ignored him and focused on organizing my things, frustrated by my silence. He ran a hand through his hair and snapped, stop being difficult. All right, I'm apologizing. What more do you want? He kept rambling on to himself while I didn't utter a single word in response. Just as I finished packing my things to leave, I realized the bag I'd brought was missing. Thinking I'd left it in the living room, I went to check, only to have Zhou Jin confront me with that newspaper, demanding, what's the meaning of this? Turns out I'd carried the same bag from yesterday and forgotten to remove the newspaper. I left my bag on the desk in my room while packing, never expecting he'd take it when I wasn't looking. I snatched the newspaper back, scowling. Didn't your mother teach you not to touch other people's things? My attitude must have pissed him off. Zhou Jin yelled again, Jiangyu, what the hell do you mean by this? Nothing, I mistook you for someone else, that's all. As I turned to leave, Zhou Jin blocked the doorway, mistaken identity. So what am I to you, Jiangyu? What did you take me for, a stand-in? For fuck's sake, did you ever even love me? Strangely enough, he's always been like this, emotionally volatile. I used to tolerate it, but now I just find him insufferable, utterly repulsive. I even sized him up from head to toe, and couldn't find a single redeeming quality. Lucky for you, sharing his name. Otherwise, do you really think I'd spare you a second glance? Get lost, out of my way. That compromising photo Jiang Lin sent me, I forwarded it straight to her ex Wang Qingqing. 10, serves her right. Only when Wang showed up at my place did I learn she'd slept with Zhou Jin before even breaking up with her ex. What I thought would be a minor romantic spat escalated into Wang Qingqing causing a huge scene at our home. Now the whole neighborhood knows Jiang Lin's been playing the field and sleeping around with multiple men. Jiang Lin, haven't I treated you well enough? I give you so much allowance every month, and you're using my money to keep some pretty boy, is that it? Wang Qingqing tried to charge at Jiang Lin, but my father stopped her. During the scuffle, he held back because my dad was elderly, but my father shoved him hard and sent him crashing to the ground. Someone in the crowd suddenly shouted, the cops are coming. Jiang Lin glanced outside, then abruptly pulled her father down while wailing dramatically, officer, he assaulted us. Jiang Lin pointed at Wang Qingqing, playing the victim first. My dad played along, collapsing to the ground while alternating between complaining of a head injury and claiming a broken back. I just smiled without saying a word. Jiang Lin was convinced Zhou Jin would rise to greatness someday. But as a mere clerk now, he couldn't sustain the lavish lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to under Wang Qingqing's patronage. With all pretense gone now, she figured she might as well squeeze one last payout from him. I glanced down the hallway, no security cameras in sight. Wang Qingqing was left speechless with no way to defend himself. Get me to the hospital now. I can't hold on much longer. His mother came running out screaming that Wang Qingqing had assaulted someone. The family of three kept egging each other on as the police were about to take Wang Qingqing away. I suddenly spoke up, he didn't hit anyone, I've got the whole thing on video. The previously agitated trio immediately fell silent. My mother was the first to spot me in the crowd. Jiangyu, what are you doing back? We've already cut ties with you. Jiang Lin stared at me in silence. I just squeezed through the crowd and handed the phone to the police with a smile. Truth is, I wasn't close with Wang Qingqing. I didn't do this to help him, I just didn't want Jiang Lin to get her way. As I was leaving, Wang Qingqing, who'd already given her statement to the police, caught up with me. Thanks for earlier. I smiled without responding. She continued, you're really nice, nothing like how your sister described you. What did my sister say about me? Wang Qingqing swallowed the words that were already on the tip of his tongue. I didn't need him to say it. I could already guess Jiang Lin had been badmouthing me to him nonstop. Jiangyu, let me treat you to dinner as thanks for helping me earlier. I declined, but Wang Qingqing kept trailing behind me. He wouldn't stop talking, and I was so annoyed that I stopped to glare at him. Are you really going to thank me? Wang Qingqing nodded firmly. I pulled out a newspaper from my bag. Can you help me find his family? Wang Qingqing glanced at the name in the newspaper. Without asking any questions, he simply nodded. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you find them. He wasn't boasting, given his family's resources. Tracking someone down wouldn't be difficult at all. Rumor has it that Zhou Jin's parents finally agreed to let him marry Jiang Lin. 11. I wasn't planning to attend their engagement party at first, but Jiang Lin kept calling to flaunt the invitation. Sometimes I really can't fathom why she'd invite her fiancé's ex to their engagement party. What was she thinking? Eventually even my parents called to scold me. Jiangyu, have you no heart? She's your own sister. Can't you just be happy for her? I could even hear Jiang Lin sobbing in the background. Dad, does Jiangyu hate me for taking Zhou Jin away? Is that why she won't come? So on the day of his engagement to Zhou Jin, I still showed up as she wished. Zhou Jin looked visibly uncomfortable when he saw me. You came, I smiled and nodded, then took my seat directly. That burning gaze behind me never left me from the moment I entered, until I heard Jiang Lin's irritated voice. Zhou Jin, how much longer are you going to keep staring at her? I'm the one you're engaged to today. Her voice carried, and all the surrounding relatives heard it clearly. Flustered, Zhou Jin immediately tried to hush her. What nonsense is this? Can you please not make a scene? My phone suddenly rang right in the middle of the engagement ceremony. Though the ringtone was quiet, Zhou Jin noticed it immediately and fixed his gaze on me again, holding up my phone. I turned toward the door with a sweet smile. Wait for me, I'll be right out. Following my gaze, Zhou Jin spotted the man standing at the entrance. His expression instantly darkened. I walked to the door, glanced back at Zhou Jin, then left. In the car, Wang Qingqing glanced at the rearview mirror. They're tailing us. I shrugged indifferently. Let them follow. Just as I suspected, scum like Zhou Jin is incapable of truly loving anyone. His decade-long infatuation with Jiang Lin wasn't love, just an obsession, the restless itch of unattained desire. Once obtained, the moonlit goddess becomes just another grain of rice on your collar, nothing worth clinging to. So like how he humiliated me at our own wedding. This time he abandoned Jiang Lin at their engagement party to chase after me. For men, what they can't have and what they've lost will always seem the best. Wang Qingqing worked quickly and had already helped me locate Xiao Zhoujin's family. 12. An uncle answered the door. After hearing our purpose, he gave me a long, searching look. A woman's voice suddenly called from inside. Honey, who's there? Uncle turned his head and replied, don't know them. Wrong door. Then he turned back to me and said, that's my wife. She hasn't been right in the head since we lost our child. We don't blame you. It was Zhou Jin's choice, but please don't come again. Before leaving, I asked for the location of little Zhou Jin's grave, and the uncle told me without hesitation. But when we arrived at the cemetery, Wang Qingqing was knocked down by a shadowy figure the moment we got out of the car. I rushed forward and blocked Zhou Jin, who was about to throw a punch. Are you out of your mind? Zhou Jin laughed bitterly in rage. Jiang Yu, have you no shame? After Jiang Lin stole me away, you're now with him. See how foul minds turn everything they see foul. I turned and asked Wang Qingqing to wait for me in the car, took the flowers he handed me, and entered the cemetery alone. Zhou Jin was still sticking to me like a piece of gum on my shoe. If you can accept Wang Qingqing, why can't you forgive me and give us another chance? Just hours ago, he was getting engaged to Jiang Lin. How dare he ask me that with a straight face? I ignored him and kept walking until I stopped before the tombstone engraved with Zhou Jin. Zhou Jin, who had been trailing me, suddenly went berserk like a rabid stray dog when he saw the name on the tombstone. He snatched the flowers I'd placed at the grave and hurled them away, shouting, Jiang Yu, what the hell gives you the right to do this to me? Some creatures just don't understand human decency. So I slapped Zhou Jin right across the face. Don't you dare lose your shit in front of me. Back when I tried reasoning with him nicely, Zhou Jin acted like he couldn't comprehend a word, but one slap later, he instantly became docile and shut right up. Turns out actions really do speak louder than words. He stood there staring at me for the longest time. Jiang Yu, I was wrong. Zhou Jin glanced at the name on the tombstone and pleaded with me in an almost pitiful tone, forgive me. And I'll forget about him too. He pointed at the tombstone. Can we start over? I shot him a disdainful glare and coldly refused. No way, Jiang Yu, don't be like this. After all these years together, I can't believe you never loved me. You clearly adored me before. There was even a hint of hurt in his voice. But what exactly was he so upset about, after all those years together? Did our relationship still crumble because of Jiang Lin's single remark at the wedding? Get the hell away from me, you're making me sick. After leaving the cemetery that day, I didn't see Zhou Jin for a long time. 13. I only heard later that Jiang Lin got pregnant and insisted on marrying Zhou Jin, but this time he refused. Our company recently partnered with Wang Qingqing's family business. Right after wrapping up the meeting, we ran into Zhou Jin on our way out. He looked terrible, gaunt as a freshly unearthed corpse, with a deathly pale complexion and this aura of bad luck clinging to him. What wretched luck, absolutely wretched. Both Wang Qingqing and I pretended not to see him. But just as we were about to leave, Zhou Jin suddenly charged toward us. He glanced at me, then at Wang Qingqing. You two, why are you together again? Wang Qingqing shoved him away. None of your business. Jiang Lin, who came looking for Zhou Jin, witnessed the scene. She rushed over and shielded him. Wang Qingqing, I already broke up with you. Stop harassing me. Wang Qingqing and I exchanged glances, both thinking those two were out of their minds. Jiang Lin was carrying baby supplies, so I figured Zhou Jin must have been accompanying her shopping. Just as Wang Qingqing and I were about to leave, Zhou Jin shoved Jiang Lin aside and came pestering us again. Let's go. What rotten luck. Absolute nightmare. Jiang Yu, can we start over? Just give me one more chance, I'm begging you. His gaunt face was streaked with tears, an unsettling sight to behold. Jiang Lin dropped her things, screaming while trying to yank Zhou Jin off his knees where he was pleading with me. This wasn't just bad luck, it was downright humiliating. I barely had time to react when she suddenly lunged at me. Thankfully Wang Qingqing intercepted her. Jiang Lin, her slightly swollen belly protruding, was making a scene in the street. Jiang Yu. You shameless homewrecker, you seduced my fiancé, your own brother-in-law, you slut. Her language was filthy, her demeanor utterly unhinged. I couldn't understand how Jiang Lin, once so image-conscious and refined, had become like this. I slapped her across the face, and when she kept spewing nonsense, I backhanded her again. Had enough, or do you need another one? She tried to fight back, but Wang Qingqing restrained her, leaving her no choice but to take the beating. Jiang Yu. You'll pay for this. I raised an eyebrow, still not sober. I backhanded her across the face again. Zhou Jin never once stood up for her the entire time. After the meeting, I found dozens of missed calls on my phone. 14. When I opened it, all the calls were from my parents. I didn't need to guess why. They were obviously calling to confront me about hitting Jiang Lin. During the meeting, my boss asked me to prepare for an overseas assignment to expand our international market. And I've already agreed. I don't plan on coming back, and I won't have much to do with them going forward. With that thought, I opened the family group chat. Hundreds of voice messages, nearly all of them cursing me out. In the end, they both declared they were cutting ties with me. Ungrateful wretch, from now on we'll consider you dead to us. If you'd hit your own sister today, you'd turn on us tomorrow. We can't keep a daughter like you. I smirked and turned off my phone screen. On the day of my departure, Wang Qingqing personally drove me to the airport. Suddenly, someone blocked the car midway. It was Zhou Jin. Good thing Wang Qingqing hit the brakes in time, or that guy would have been a goner today. Wang got out, grabbed Zhou by the neck like a chicken, and slammed him onto the roadside. If you wanna die, don't drag me into it. Zhou Jin's gaze remained fixed on me inside the car. His sudden appearance was no coincidence. He must have been waiting here all along. Get lost, don't dirty my brand new ride. Wang Qingqing shoved him aside, but Zhou Jin scrambled back up and blocked the car's path. His intention was pure and simple. He just wanted to see me. I checked the time and couldn't be bothered to drag this out with him. Getting out of the car, I stood before him and accidentally stepped on Zhou Jin's fingers, making me take a quick step back. Spit it out if you've got something to say, then get the hell out of here. Zhou Jin was in worse shape than before, his voice hoarse as he pleaded, please don't go, don't leave me. Finish talking. I snapped impatiently, mind moving aside. As I turned to get in the car, Zhou Jin suddenly rushed to the guardrail. Below the railing rushed the turbulent river. Jiang Yu, I'm begging you, don't go. I was wrong. I swear I was wrong. He threatened, if you leave with him, I'll jump from here, idiot. I laughed in disbelief and immediately pulled out my phone to call the police. After the police arrived and I explained the situation, I turned and got in the car. In the rearview mirror, Zhou Jin watched my retreating figure with utter despair in his eyes. Wang Qingqing glanced at the rearview mirror and said coldly, he actually jumped. I averted my gaze indifferently. With the police here, he won't die, leave him be. Just before boarding, Wang Qingqing called out to me, Jiang Yu. If I were to pursue you, would you say yes? After spending these days together, I had to admit Wang Qingqing wasn't the irresponsible playboy Jiang Lin made him out to be. We'd become quite good friends, but we could never go beyond being just friends. Ever since I was little, I only wore my sister's hand-me-downs, and only got the snacks she didn't want anymore. It's like I've always been picking up her scraps. Jiang Yu only deserves her cast-offs, but now I'm finally free of her. Do you understand? I believe Wang Qingqing would understand. Oh right, I suddenly remembered Jiang Lin mentioning his family might go bankrupt. Keep an eye on your family's business lately. Better safe than sorry. My overseas career was going smoothly. On the day I became the general manager of the foreign branch, Wang Qingqing made a special call to congratulate me. 15. Guess we should call you Director Jiang now. Stop teasing. I laughed. Last time you mentioned your family company was in trouble. How's that going? Everything resolved? Wang Qingqing gave an acknowledging hum. Thanks for the heads up earlier, and for helping me secure funding later on. As the conversation wound down, Wang Qingqing suddenly asked, don't you resent your family? I neither confirmed nor denied the resentment, simply remarking, I believe in karma, good people get their rewards, and the wicked will burn in hell. Whether they're hellbound or not, your home's already living hell right now. Wang Qingqing told me Jiang Lin's belly kept growing, yet Zhou Jin stubbornly refused to marry her. He said he regretted everything and begged me to come back. Jiang Lin considered terminating the pregnancy later, but it was too far along. She had to carry to term for safety reasons. You wouldn't believe it, she even came crawling back to reconcile with me later. I figured as much. After all, Wang Qingqing's family never actually went bankrupt like she claimed. Did you say yes? Are you kidding me? Do I look like some desperate loser to you? Jiang Lin threatened Zhou Jin with 2 lives, and he finally agreed to marry her. Throwing a wedding with that huge baby bump, Zhang's completely lost it. As long as she's not embarrassed herself, that's all that matters. Some time later, Wang Qingqing told me again, Zhou Jin died. On his wedding day, I raised an eyebrow but didn't pay much attention. I didn't even ask how he died. Jiang Lin completely lost it when she found out. She took a dump right at the wedding in front of all the guests, then proceeded to eat it. Your dad was so furious he ended up in the hospital, and now your mom's scouring the globe looking for you. They must be regretting it now. Never thought this day would come so soon. That's my biological sister, Jiang Lin. I responded flatly. I'll be returning to China soon. Wang Qingqing's voice cracked with surprise. You still care about them? I quit my job to start my own business. Working for others can't compare to being your own boss. No, he tried to persuade me. All your connections are there. Wouldn't it be better to launch your venture there? Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows stretched the steel jungle of the bustling city, a jungle where I'd already carved out my own empire. I'm still building my business here. Just need to go back to handle some matters. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, but when he spoke again, the disappointment in his voice was unmistakable. Oh, I chuckled, brushing it off. Story 2, at the age of 7, my brother was busy chasing after the poor student, which led to me being abducted. By the time I finally made it back home, the poor student had already become the fake heiress. She was dressed in an expensive princess dress, pinching her nose and looking at me with disdain. She smells so bad. Could she have some contagious disease? Just like that, the way my parents looked at me changed, and my brother's face was full of disgust. Why did you come back to disturb our lives? That's when I found out the fake heiress was also my sister-in-law. In the end, I was tortured to death by the fake heiress, while my parents and brother turned a blind eye. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the year I was 5 years old. That year, my parents' competitors targeted my brother, planning to kidnap him to force my parents into submission. This time, I chose to turn a blind eye. Useless brother and biased parents, go to hell together. 1. Little girl, go tell your parents to give up on this project, or your brother will never come back. A middle-aged man wearing a baseball cap and a mask snarled at me. He was tightly gripping my brother in his hand. At that time, my brother was still just a kid, not tall, not big, and not malicious. The look in his eyes held no ferocity, only fear and pleading. The jeans embroidered with Ultraman were soaked in the middle. Big brother had wet his pants. I feigned a look of terror, nodding vigorously like a chicken pecking at rice. The kidnapper seemed pleased, carrying brother away in a black Honda without even bothering to conceal the license plate. What kind of kidnapper does that? It smells so good. What kind of food is this? I sniffed the air and followed the sweet aroma right to the convenience store entrance, where the colorful cotton candy looked absolutely delicious. By the time I carried the cotton candy home, my parents had already returned. Seeing me alone, they asked in confusion, "Where's your brother?" Taking small licks of the cotton candy, I said in a childish voice, "Dunno, cotton candy yummy, mommy daddy want some." The parents searched the house for a while, then combed through the neighborhood several times, but found no trace of their brother. They grew increasingly anxious and began calling the police. However, during that era without surveillance cameras, tracking down human traffickers was extremely difficult. The police officer questioned doubtfully, "Logically speaking, this shouldn't happen. Your neighborhood has excellent security. Why would human traffickers come here?" I've also asked the guards, and no suspicious individuals were seen entering or exiting. Mom collapsed on the floor wailing, while Dad pulled at his own hair in utter despair. I sat on the flower bed, swinging my little legs, watching them unblinkingly with wide eyes. They look so heartbroken and miserable now, so why were they completely unfazed when they watched me die before their eyes in our past life? Brother's life matters, but mine doesn't. In that case, let's all perish together. 2. That very day, missing person posters of my brother covered every street and alley. even appearing on TV with a 30,000 yuan reward. In those days, 30,000 yuan was a substantial amount of money. I had initially wondered if the kidnappers might come forward voluntarily. But once the missing person notices went up, I knew my brother wouldn't return. There was absolutely no chance of a private settlement anymore. Countless cases, big and small, occur every day, so my brother's case was temporarily set aside. In my past life, because I remembered the license plate number, the police easily found my brother, and his way of repaying me was letting me get kidnapped when I was 7. After all, we're siblings by blood, the same flesh and blood runs through our veins. It's only fair to return the favor, isn't it? Gradually revealing my intelligence and talents, I occasionally proposed profitable projects, helping them slowly emerge from the pain of losing their child. Dad happily ruffled my hair. Ningning is truly our lucky star, making Mom and Dad earn so much money. I giggled sweetly. I saw on TV how big the houses rich people live in are, with swimming pools in front. So impressive. Mom, Dad, let's also move to a bigger house. The neighbors would be wealthy too, and maybe we could network to earn even more money. I've heard people say that social circles are the most important thing. My parents were moved by my words and exchanged glances. Nowadays, our family earns enough to buy a villa, but they still hold on to thoughts of my brother. What if he comes back one day? So I need to sever their hopes and completely erase any trace of my brother from their lives. Dad nodded decisively and said, "All right. We'll listen to Ningning. Social circles are the most important." The next day, my parents went to look at houses and eventually spent a fortune buying a villa in the city center, where all the neighbors were either wealthy or influential figures. Being cute and sweet-tongued, I visited a few nearby households with cookies made by my mom and quickly became friends with them. As a result, my parents secured many projects, although they didn't make much profit due to low pricing. They managed to build valuable connections. Seizing the opportunity, I suggested, "Mom and Dad, since you're both busy with work and I'm often lonely at home, how about adopting an older brother to keep me company?" Why do I need an older brother? Of course, it's to completely replace my brother's position in our parents' hearts, preventing them from giving him all the credit when he returns due to their favoritism towards sons over daughters. I won't let such a thing happen. No way, I'm doing all the work just for his benefit. Now, my parents dote on me and comply with my every wish, so they naturally won't refuse. 3. You can't choose your parents, so there's nothing you can do even if they're useless. But since this brother can be chosen freely, naturally one would pick someone who's completely satisfactory. I suffer from misanthropy towards foolishness, so those with poor intellect are absolutely unacceptable. Ugly ones won't do either, as they'd ruin my appetite. Most importantly, the personality must be good and the heart kind. I don't want a second ungrateful brother. After visiting all the orphanages in the city, I finally found one that met all the requirements, especially the fierce glint in his eyes, which particularly satisfied me. Having seen all kinds of people and ghosts in my past life, someone like him would be hard to control when grown up, but raising him from a young age brings a great sense of accomplishment. My brother is lost. Can you be my brother? I took out a white rabbit creamy candy from my pocket and placed it in his slender hand, saying in a soft, sweet voice, "I have lots of toys and snacks, and I can share half with you. Would you like to come home with me?" No little boy could resist such an adorable kid like me, and he was no exception. He carefully took the candy from my hand without touching me, as if afraid of dirtying my fingers. But I actively grabbed his hand and proudly showed him off to my parents. "Mom and Dad, I like this big brother." His parents were also very satisfied with his appearance. After asking a few more questions and finding him well-behaved and polite, they agreed. I gave him a new name, Lu Xingchen, because his eyes are as beautiful as stars. He lives in the room across from mine, with the same layout as my room. Originally, my parents had intended it for my older brother, but now he's living there. During meals, he also sat in the lower seat beside his father, the same place where his elder brother used to sit. Gradually, he truly took over his brother's position, and their parents instinctively included him in everything they did, even referring to him as our son in private conversations. At first, my elder brother was somewhat timid, but under my guidance, he became more outgoing and confident. However, perhaps it was because the first impression he had of me was that cute and vulnerable appearance, which left too deep a mark on him. This led to him genuinely protecting me like a little sister. Every night he would tell me fairy tales to lull me to sleep. He would pick the food I didn't like and eat it from his own plate. He even wished he could take the pain from me when I accidentally bumped into the table. 4. In the blink of an eye, high school began, and Lu Xingchen, wrapped in love, began to shine brightly, causing a stir the moment she stepped into the school. Although he was older than me, we were in the same class. This was both our parents' wish and his own, so he could better protect me. At the same time, an old acquaintance, Gu Jiejia, reappeared, the very culprit who had tortured me to death in my past life, the fake heiress. She appeared delicate and fragile, with every smile and frown exuding an air of pitiable charm. Especially her watery eyes that made it hard not to feel compassion for her. Xingchen, look in the 3 o'clock direction. Is that girl pretty? Lu Xingchen followed my gaze and saw Gu Jiejia wearing a white dress with long, straight black hair. He didn't understand my meaning and said seriously, I don't know, maybe she's the type boys like. She's not just the type boys like, she's the type my brother is utterly infatuated with. The kind he'd watch his own sister suffer in agony for, leaving her neither able to live nor die. I licked my lips and asked, do you like this type? A flicker of disgust flashed in his eyes, yet his expression remained composed. I don't like it, I scoffed. Then what kind do you like? He looked down at me, raised an eyebrow, and said, I like the spoiled, willful, domineering, and unreasonable ones. Me, Gu Jiejia and I were classmates. She wasn't admitted through regular exams, but as a special enrollment student, specifically a financially disadvantaged student. Every year, elite schools admit a few financially disadvantaged students to showcase their tradition of not discriminating based on family background. In reality, these students often end up being bullied here, since most attendees are either heirs or children of the wealthy. In my past life, because my older brother protected her, she was able to swagger around here without fear. But this time Big Brother isn't here. Let's see how she acts up. The first class was self-introductions. Everyone took turns going on stage competently without stage fright, having experienced big occasions before. Naturally they weren't afraid. When it was Gu Jiejia's turn, her little face flushed red as she hesitated shyly, too embarrassed to go on stage. I am too shy. The teacher smiled and said, it's alright, it's everyone's first time meeting, don't be nervous. Let's give a warm round of applause, classmates. The students started clapping one after another. Seeing that I wasn't moving, Lu Xingchen also refrained from applauding, but after 3 rounds of applause, everyone was growing impatient. Gu Jiejia still hadn't stepped onto the stage, biting her lips, her face turning even redder, with tears welling up in her eyes. What a useless thing, can't even handle the spotlight. 5. After this incident, everyone naturally distanced themselves from Gu Jiejia, finding her utterly repulsive. Crying at the drop of a hat, outsiders would think someone bullied her. How disgusting. Exactly, because of her time wasting, we didn't even have time to go to the bathroom after class. So annoying. When assigning seats later, I really hope I don't get paired with her. Such bad luck would ruin my aura. Everyone's voices weren't lowered, and Gu Jiejia heard everything clearly, so she ran to the teacher's office to report it. Such behavior might be tolerable in an ordinary school, but in a prestigious academy, it's practically asking for trouble. Classmate Gu Jiejia has special circumstances, so everyone should be more accommodating towards her. Is there any classmate willing to sit with Gu Jiejia? She's quite timid, and with someone looking after her, she'll quickly adapt to the school environment. After waiting for a long time without any classmates raising their hands, what came instead was a wave of mocking laughter. The teacher cleared her throat lightly and asked, classmate Gu Jiejia, who would you like to sit with? At this point, Gu Jiejia didn't hesitate anymore. Pointing at Lu Xingchen, she said, I want to sit with Brother Xingchen. The way she called him Brother Xingchen was extremely coy, making those who didn't know them think they were very close. The boys erupted in teasing sounds, while the girls all looked utterly disdainful. The teacher nodded. All right then, student Lu Xingchen, you'll sit with Gu Jiejia from now on. Take good care of her. Lu Xingchen refused directly. Sorry teacher, I'm allergic to tears. The classroom fell silent for a few seconds before erupting in laughter. I also curled my lips slightly. His words could be quite sharp-tongued. The teacher frowned slightly, knowing it was an excuse, but since he was nominally the heir of the Lu group, he didn't dare offend him. Thus, he had no choice but to find a girl who seemed more approachable to sit with. After class, Gu Jiejia came looking for Lu Xingchen. She said pitifully, Brother Xingchen, I didn't mean to put you in a difficult position earlier. I just thought you looked very familiar, as if I've seen you somewhere before. No wonder my brother was completely wrapped around her finger in our past life. her methods are indeed effective. Standing firm on stage satisfies a guy's vanity. If that doesn't work, then lower your guard in private and play the emotional card. An ordinary guy would probably be won over by this, but Lu Xingchen remains unmoved. Are you a pigeon? Calling me brother every other word. Gu Jiejia's eyes reddened again as she bit her lip. Brother Xingchen, do you have some misunderstanding about me? Or did you hear someone speaking ill of me? I've had a tough family situation since childhood, and everyone looked down on me. I just want to make friends and not feel so lonely. Lu Xingchen scoffed. Then you should try making friends with girls, shouldn't you? Gu Jiejie blurted out. Girls are too much trouble. I prefer hanging out with boys. It's more straightforward and enjoyable without all the scheming. 6. The classroom instantly erupted with a chorus of boos from the girls. This White Lotus clearly had some green tea bitch attributes. Don't play the innocent fox with me. We're both old hands at this game. Lu Xingchen curled his lips in a cold smile. I don't believe all women are as you described. Except for you, of course. Even with her thick skin, Gu Jiejie couldn't stay any longer. Flushing red, she returned to her seat and burst into tears with her face buried in her arms, but no one went to comfort her. They all just laughed at her. What a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Can't she see how obviously he's rejecting her? Still throwing herself at him just to be humiliated. Who says otherwise? The heir to the Lu group is someone she could ever dream of. They say women are scheming, but hers takes the cake. Lu Xingchen appears gentle and refined on the surface, but who knew he'd be such an expert at spotting gold diggers? Propping my chin, I finished enjoying the spectacle before asking with a smile, Xingchen, this is the first time I've seen you be so sarcastic. He unscrewed the thermos for me and gestured for me to drink. The people you don't like, I don't like either. I took small sips of water and chuckled lightly. Liar, you obviously didn't like her yourself. He raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised. You noticed? I blinked and asked, why don't you like her? He pondered seriously for a moment. Her eyes are full of calculation and greed. Indeed, a brother chosen by oneself is far smarter than one with no choice. Gu Jiejie began to be isolated and ostracized, with no one speaking to her anymore, even when she initiated conversations. People ignored her. They even sarcastically remarked, I'm a girl with deep schemes, you should find a guy instead. The boys sneered and said, we can't compare to the heir of the Lu group, you should go find him. Logically, after reaching this point, one would usually stop making a fuss, attend classes obediently, and eventually be forgiven by everyone after some time, but her thought process was unusual. During the basketball game, she took the initiative to bring water to Lu Xingchen. Brother Xingchen, you play basketball so well. The whole school was watching, and boys from other classes were laughing and egging her on from the sidelines. It seemed like she was trying to emotionally manipulate Lu Xingchen, or perhaps gain sympathy from everyone, since many students from other classes didn't know the full story. Lu Xingchen sneered, no matter how well I play, it's not for you to see. Take fewer glances. After taking a few steps, he turned back and added, I don't know how many good brothers you have, but I'm certainly not one of them. Please stop calling me that. Thank you. With that, he walked straight toward me. Noticing me lazily watching the commotion from the side, he snatched the half-drunk water bottle from my hand and took a sip. After finishing, he handed the empty bottle back to me and asked, were you looking at her or at me? I took the water bottle and teased with a smile. How do you manage to never take her bait? Lu Xingchen scoffed. Do you think all men in the world are fools? Her intentions are so obvious. Who would actually take the bait? Many did take the bait, like my brother in my past life, and even mom and dad, with all their experience reading people. How could they not see through such obvious tricks? There's only one reason. They thought she was more important than me. 7. After the basketball game, Lu Xingchen gained a fan club, all consisting of his little admirers. When we met in the restroom, I casually remarked, that girl from our class keeps pestering my brother every day, and he's utterly annoyed. How can a girl be so thick-skinned? No matter how he rejects her, it's useless, and it's seriously affecting my brother's studies. If only someone could stop her. Sigh. That afternoon, Gu Jiejie emerged from the bathroom completely drenched. She knew she had angered everyone and didn't dare report it to the teacher. I despise school bullying and have even helped rescue other girls before, but only when seeing Gu Jiejie being bullied do I feel an intense sense of pleasure. After being targeted for half a month, Gu Jiejie finally backed down and never dared to pester Lu Xingchen again, but Lu Xingchen began to frequently cross paths with Gu Jiejie, allowing others to continue misunderstanding. which led to everyone persistently bullying Gu Jiejia. Eventually, she proactively requested a class transfer from the teacher and moved to the grades underperforming class, finally putting an end to the turmoil. The underperforming class had a spoiled rich second-generation student who was handsome but had a wild lifestyle. After seeing Gu Jiejia enter the restroom, I leisurely followed her in with the other girls from our class. Qingyi is quite handsome. Go ask him if he has a girlfriend for me. Wow, even our Miss Lu has developed feelings for someone. But he's really handsome and comes from a wealthy family. He must be hard to get. He looks so wild, but I really like that vibe. Exactly, I like him too. I think he's even more exciting than your brother. Soon Gu Jiejia started dating Qingyi, and she often flaunted their relationship in front of me. Every time I turned away to avoid bursting into laughter, she mistook it for sadness, which only made her more smug. Soon, the scandalous photos of Gu Jiejia and Qingyi began circulating within a small circle of male students. Coming from a family that owned entertainment venues, Qingyi was exposed to wilder scenes from an early age. He often engaged in group activities, accepting partners of all ages, his motto being pure thrill. While I was admiring the photos, Lu Xingchen appeared behind me, snatched my phone, and blushed furiously after just one glance. What do you think of these things? I chuckled lightly. You want to see too? Then let's watch together. After seeing the protagonist, Lu Xingchen silently returned the phone to me. 8. In the blink of an eye, Gu Jiejia had already undergone 6 abortions for Qingyi. The pitiful white lotus image she once had completely vanished, replaced by smoking, tattoos, and skirts shortened to thigh-high length. A full-fledged delinquent girl. Meanwhile, Lu Xingchen and I were achieving better academic results, ranking first and second in our grade, the pride of teachers and classmates alike. Every year I would host a birthday banquet, inviting all my classmates to strengthen our bonds, while also providing a good opportunity for our parents' generation to network and explore collaborations. Many students at school considered it an honor to attend my birthday banquet. This was my coming-of-age ceremony, exceptionally grand, with several industry leaders in attendance. I prepared a grand gift for my parents. Mom, Dad, I've been searching for you so desperately. Just as my parents and the VIPs were toasting, the door suddenly burst open, and a heart-wrenching, sorrowful male voice cried out, "I've finally come home." After saying that, he sat on the ground and burst into tears, bald, dressed in rags, with a fierce scar on his face. He didn't look like a good person, especially with the foul stench emanating from him. Everyone silently took a few steps back, and the melodious piano music came to a stop. Mom asked in confusion, "Who are you?" The older brother immediately looked up excitedly, with tears and snot running down his face, looking both pitiful and disgusting. "Mom, Dad, I'm Lu Qingjing, your son. Don't you remember me?" As he spoke, he tried to hug Mom, who instinctively took a few steps back because of the terrible smell, quickly covering her nose. I said with disgust, "Why do you smell so bad? Do you have some kind of contagious disease?" I threw back every word Gu Jiejia had said to him, without missing a single one. My brother's eyes turned bloodshot when he saw me, stepping forward to hit me. "Lu Yining, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have ended up like this." Lu Xingchen immediately shielded me, his expression icy as he said, "Don't bully my sister." I peeked out and said innocently, "Brother, stay away from him. He looks like an ex-convict. Did he just get out of prison?" Everyone silently took a few steps back. The older brother completely lost his temper, started overturning tables, and roared in anger, "How long have I been gone? You've already found someone to replace me. You're too much. I hate you." The security guards arrived in time and restrained the older brother. But this banquet was also forcibly interrupted. When they left, everyone had different expressions on their faces. What happened tonight would spread throughout the circle by tomorrow morning. The business deal that Mom, Dad, and the big shot were discussing also came to nothing in the end. Dad was so angry that he started throwing a tantrum as soon as they left. Couldn't he have come back at any other time? He had to show up now and completely humiliate us. Mom rubbed her temples, seemingly suffering from a headache caused by the earlier commotion. This child really came back at the wrong time. 9. The older brother, who had just finished showering and came downstairs, turned red with anger upon hearing this. "I'm your own flesh and blood. You don't care at all about how I made it back, how I've been all these years. I dreamed of our family reunion every night. How could you treat me like this?" A 6-foot-tall man sat on the floor wailing. Just how much grievance must he have endured? Unfortunately, Because he had just embarrassed his parents so much, they not only didn't feel sorry for him, but also thought he was disgraceful and shameful. Dad waved his hand. Enough. What kind of man cries at the drop of a hat? Since you're home, just stay put and don't go out making trouble. The older brother wiped his tears and snot with his sleeve, still sniffling. As he pointed at Lu Xingchen viciously, kick him out. Now that I'm back, keeping this replacement here just makes me sick. Before I could even speak, my parents said in unison, no. My brother was so angry that his hands clenched tightly into fists, veins bulging on his forehead. Mom, Dad, I'm your real son, my mother soothed. We know, but Xingchen has gotten along very well with us all these years, and everyone likes him. Dad also added, you should learn more from him. Hearing this, the older brother completely lost his temper and swung a fist intending to hit Lu Xingchen, who lightly sidestepped and perfectly dodged it. Extending his foot, he tripped the brother, but with the sofa blocking the view, their parents didn't clearly see this small move and only thought the brother had lost his balance. The brother fell so hard that his nose started bleeding, but instead of receiving any comfort, he was met with scolding. Dad cursed, you disgraceful thing. If you keep making trouble, I'll throw you out. The older brother trembled with rage, but didn't dare to make a scene, because he realized this was no longer the home he remembered, and his parents no longer loved him. When resting at night, the older brother stared at Lu Xingchen's spacious room with venom in his eyes and said, from now on, I'll sleep here, you go sleep in the guest room. With our parents absent, I dropped the act and sneered, brother. It seems you still haven't figured out your place in this family. During the time you were kidnapped, Brother Xingchen has long since taken your place, not just in our parents' affection, but also your inheritance rights. Brother Xingchen is handsome and outstanding. Not only does he excel academically, but he's also incredibly popular. The young ladies and gentlemen in our social circle all seek him out willingly. Do you really think your bloodline alone can compare to the benefits he's brought to the company? You'd better show some respect to Brother Xingchen from now on. Otherwise, once our parents grow old, you'll be thrown out and forced to return to that life of wandering and begging. Lu Xingchen stood quietly behind me, silent yet exuding an overwhelming aura of intimidation. Big Brother was furious, erupting into helpless rage. He nearly threw something but restrained himself, terrified that Dad might hear and actually kick him out, grinding his molars to dust. Fine, just you two wait and see. 10. After escorting me back to my room, Lu Xingchen asked, do you really despise your brother? I nodded, yes, I want to kill him. Lu Xingchen looked at me with a complicated expression, but didn't try to console me. I licked my lips. Xingchen, don't you think Gu Jiejie and my brother are a match made in heaven? After some thought, Lu Xingchen nodded, a perfect match. I curled my lips. As expected of the brother I chose, he never questions any of my decisions. The weather turned cold, and the days of the Qin group's desperate struggle finally came to an end, with bankruptcy declared. Naturally, there was no more money to play around with Gu Jiejie. When Qin Yi was around, Gu Jiejie was particularly arrogant, bullying many classmates. Now that she's lost her protector, everyone has started bullying her again. I arranged for people to corner her in an alley and beat her up. Then I played the hero and came to her rescue. Then it was only natural to invite her over to my place. Gu Jiejie, desperately needing a lifeline at this moment, naturally wouldn't refuse me, even going out of her way to flatter me in her words. I smiled gently. Let bygones be bygones. Let's be good friends from now on. Gu Jiejie nodded eagerly, afraid I might change my mind. I brought her a short skirt and told her to go take a shower in my brother's room. Since my brother had just moved in, his room was still empty and no different from a guest room. Coincidentally, my brother, who had gotten tired from playing games in the garden, had just returned to his room. 5 minutes passed, and it was still quiet inside. I spread my hands. Xingchen, you lost. Lu Xingchen placed this month's allowance in my hand. You understand human nature better than I do. I smiled faintly. When it comes to human nature, you understand it better. But when it comes to the temperament of beasts, I understand it better than you. 11. That evening, Gu Jiejie stayed for dinner, reverting to her original White Lotus persona, docile and gentle. To top it off, I helped gild her image. Although Jiejie doesn't come from a privileged background, she studies exceptionally hard and refuses to yield to fate. She has a wonderful personality, and we all love spending time with her. Many guys are pursuing her too, but she has high standards and usually doesn't fancy ordinary guys. At this moment, Lu Xingchen also proactively picked up a spare rib for her. he said gently, you can't eat spicy food, this one isn't spicy. Gu Jiejie was flattered, her brother's eyes filled with determination, while I pursed my lips and struggled to suppress the smile at the corners of my mouth. Soon, her brother started dating Gu Jiejie. Initially, their parents had some reservations, feeling that Gu Jiejie's family background was too humble to match their son, but her brother insisted, believing that true love was what mattered most. As he said this, he provocatively glanced at Lu Xingchen, who lowered his head with a sorrowful expression. Thus, the elder brother became even more resolute, unwavering until death. In the end, Mom and Dad finally nodded in agreement. Gu Jiejie, who had undergone 6 abortions, had a highly fertile constitution and soon became pregnant again. Dad was especially delighted. Great, truly my son, the Lu family lineage will continue. If it's a boy, I'll reward Gu Jiejie with 1 million yuan. Gu Jiejie's eyes instantly lit up. Thank you, uncle. Mother looked tenderly at her belly, her eyes also filled with joy. I seized the opportunity to say, since Jiejie is also pregnant, how about holding a grand wedding? It would also be a good chance to introduce Big Brother to everyone. Naturally, they happily agreed and immediately scheduled the wedding for the end of the month. While passing by the study at night, I overheard my parents whispering, Xingjing has been wasting his years outside and can't inherit the family business. Although Yining is outstanding, she's still a girl after all, and the company can't be handed over to her. If this child is a boy, he'll inherit the company in the future. If it's not a boy, we'll keep having children until we get one. Although the company has reached its current scale thanks to Yining, it's just her fate not being born a boy. I curled my lips. Just like in my past life, they still favor sons over daughters. Then I'll send them another grand gift. 12. Although the wedding between brother and Gu Jiejie was somewhat rushed, every item used was exquisitely luxurious. I marveled, Xingchen, this wedding is truly beautiful. Lu Xingchen glanced at the USB drive I was fiddling with and chuckled, and yet you're still planning to destroy it. Facing my provocatively toasting elder brother, I also raised my drink and clinked it with his from a distance. Taking a small sip, smiling meaningfully, I said, otherwise they won't learn their lesson. The wedding march slowly began to play as my brother and Gu Jiejie walked hand in hand, making a barely passable handsome couple. Both my father and mother took turns giving speeches on stage, reading from heartfelt scripts that brought tears to their eyes. Lu Xingchen peeled a white rabbit milk candy for me. I chuckled softly, what's this for? I'm not a kid anymore. He pushed the candy to my lips. Sweet. I mischievously licked it with my tongue and blinked. It really is sweet. He reached out and pinched my cheek, then shoved it straight in, rubbing my still aching cheek. I turned and headed backstage. Ah. A wolf pup will always be a wolf pup. It can never become a lapdog. After entering backstage, I spoke directly. You go attend the banquet. I'll handle the rest. The staff member cheerfully said, all right. Just as the brother and Gu Jiejie exchanged rings and leaned in for a kiss, the loving video on the electronic screen behind them switched to footage of Gu Jiejie and Qinyi. The audience instantly erupted in gasps of shock. The brother and Gu Jiejie, thinking everyone was cheering them on, became even more enthusiastic. Everyone shouted loudly, look behind, look behind. The two who had just kissed turned around with smiles, thinking it was a surprise prepared by their parents. Just a second ago, Gu Jiejie thought she was at the peak of her life, but the next moment she felt a chill run through her body, as if falling into an ice cave. The smile on her brother's face instantly froze, and he snarled, good, so you've been lying to me all along. Gu Jiejie's face turned deathly pale as she trembled and said, let me explain. Her brother punched Gu Jiejie hard in the face, then kicked her stomach. Tell me now, whose bastard is in your belly? Gu Jiejie's snow-white dress was instantly stained red with blood. Writhing in pain, she couldn't even make a sound, but her brother, blinded by rage, continued beating and kicking her mercilessly. Someone in the audience wanted to go up and break up the fight, but the brother was acting like a madman at that moment. When our parents came out of the restroom and saw this scene, they hurried onto the stage to intervene, but were instead pushed away by the brother. Mom hit her head against a pillar, blood gushed out immediately, and she fainted from shock. Dad was also punched by the brother, knocking out his front teeth. Even 4 security guards couldn't restrain the frenzied brother. It wasn't until the police arrived that he was finally subdued. The brother was taken to the police station, while Mom, Dad, and Gu Jiejie went to the hospital. 13. Gu Jiejie's child miscarried, her spine was fractured, 8 ribs were broken, and she was in resuscitation for 7 hours. Although she survived, she will need to lie in bed for the rest of her life. For easier bowel movements, she cannot wear pants. Living without any dignity, the mother had a mild concussion. But it's not a serious issue. The father had 2 porcelain fused to metal dental crowns implanted. I sat on the flower bed, swinging my legs, staring at them with wide, unblinking eyes. Now, I thought my parents would hire the best lawyer to reduce my brother's prison sentence by a couple of years, but they acted as if they never had this son. Oh, so they only feel the pain when they're the ones getting hurt. After the college entrance exams, I became the top science student. While Lu Xingchen scored 1 point less than me, I grinned widely, flashing my white teeth, and surprisingly he didn't seem annoyed at all. How embarrassingly my parents behaved at my brother's wedding last time is exactly how joyfully they're smiling at my college celebration now. They've finally realized I'm their only true pride. After graduation, I inherited my parents' company. Initially, I planned to scrap it and sell it as waste, destroying their life's work. But there was just too much money involved. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Being the CEO is actually quite comfortable. Lu Xingchen became a professor because during a truth or dare game at a class reunion after the college entrance exams, they asked me what type of person I liked. I couldn't keep my mouth shut and said, I like the refined but wicked type, like a professor. The classmates erupted in screams. From then on, Lu Xingchen started wearing gold-rimmed glasses with white shirts as his signature look. Baffling. 14. Gu Jiejia went insane. I arranged it, then had her committed to a mental institution. My brother had a terrible time in prison. I hired several thugs to take turns serving him daily. He eventually swallowed a toothbrush and killed himself. They say he died in agony, muttering my name and some strange words about rebirth. I'd been thinking about how to arrange things so my parents wouldn't get their hands dirty, yet still make them suffer. But in the end, they beat me to it. They got hit by a truck while driving out, both seriously injured. I comforted the truck driver. I know you didn't mean to. Life's hard for you too. You don't have insurance for the truck, right? Forget it then. No need for compensation. I'll even fix your truck for you. Everyone calls me the most conscientious businessman. I turned to the doctor and said, donate all the usable tracheas for my parents, and donate their bodies too. The doctor, who initially thought resuscitation was possible, swallowed their words at the last moment. Okay, thank you, really thank you so much. On behalf of the patients who will receive help, I express my sincere gratitude. I smiled as I accepted all the praise and honors. It was what I deserved. Stepping out of the hospital, I saw Lu Xingchen waving at me from his newly bought sports car. The weather is really nice today. Story 2. Shenke missed Gu Huan for half of his life. While I clung to half of his wealth and pestered him for half of my life, it wasn't until I was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 50 that I realized that all the things in the past were just like a dream that came to nothing. If I could live my life again, I only wish that we could part ways amicably and each find our own happiness. 1. On the day I received the cancer diagnosis report, I somehow burst into laughter. When I was young, I was unwilling to let go. Unwilling to be a witness to the love between the two of them, so I pestered them for half of my life. I got myself so angry that I fell ill. Now, looking back, all those things in the past were just like a dream that came to nothing. In the face of life and death, all love and hate are just trifles. On my 50th birthday, I made a wish. If I could go back to my 20s, I don't want to be with Shenku anymore. I buried this wish in my heart, and when I opened my eyes, I smiled and took the flowers that Shenku handed me. No one didn't envy the love between Shenku and me. We went from wearing school uniforms to wedding dresses, supported each other through thick and thin, started from scratch, and jointly created the brand Jingning. I've been acting for half of my life, and in the end, I almost believed that we really liked each other. Only by deceiving myself could I somehow make it through the days. I'm stubborn. I'd rather have a bad life myself than fulfill their love, so we could only keep acting, and it went on for half of our lives. It was just that day when Gu Huan went abroad to settle down, Shenke and I went to see her off together. Shenke stood on the platform of the plane, watching her back gradually disappear at the end. He stood there motionlessly, not knowing what he was thinking, and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. And I also stared at Shenke, watching him send off the person he loved the most with sadness in his eyes. The two people in love were now separated by the Pacific Ocean. It was like a real-life tragic love story, and I was the culprit. I thought of the words Shenke said, if that person isn't Gu Huan, then for me, it's all the same who I marry, so it's better to marry someone she likes. at least she'll be happy that way. These words kept echoing in my mind, and I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really rushed to the bathroom and vomited violently. It turned out that shit wrapped in sugar coating was still shit. I had deceived myself for a lifetime that it was sugar, but it was still shit. I suddenly felt that my past 30 years had been an absolute mess, a complete joke. A minute before blowing out the candles, I saw a post hashtag if you could go back in time, which year would you like to go back to? Hashtag, I thought that if I were to answer, I would go back to 1980, the day when Gu Huan encouraged me to confess my love to Shinku. On that day, Shinku agreed to my confession. I was too shy to look into his eyes. It was only many years later, when I saw the photo of that day, that I realized, in the photo, his eyes never landed on me from beginning to end. Instead, he looked at Gu Huan, who was laughing and cheering beside him, with sadness. If I'm destined not to marry you, then I'll marry someone you like. What a great love. After the birthday celebration, Shinku drove me home. I sat in the passenger seat without saying a word. This was the normal state between Shinku and me. We had zero communication and interaction in private, and we only talked when there were other people around. This was a Cold War that I unilaterally initiated and had lasted for 30 years. Shinku didn't ask why and just naturally accepted it all. I was curled up in my seat, scrolling through that post, when suddenly a strong light shone over. When the truck rushed towards us, Shinku instinctively turned the steering wheel and used his side to meet it. Even though he didn't love me, I couldn't help but admit that Shinku was a fairly qualified husband, and precisely because of this, I couldn't even hate him completely. So, a little bit of love, a little bit of hate, and a little bit of resentment merged into a thick, sticky mess that couldn't be stirred, making people feel sick. I just stared at Shinku expressionlessly until my consciousness fell into darkness. When I woke up again, I had traveled back in time, but it wasn't back to my 20s, it was back to my 30s. Sometimes, fate is like this. It won't let you get what you want so easily, yet it won't completely block your path either. That year, I had just become pregnant with my daughter. That year, Gu Huan had just gotten divorced. That year, I finally woke up from the beautiful dream that Shinku loved me. On September 18th, Shinku's birthday, I originally wanted to tell him the good news of my pregnancy as his birthday gift. When I arrived at the company excitedly, I heard the words that would torture me countless times in the future. Fate was so unpredictable, and I was back at this moment again. This time, I seemed so calm. However, when I heard those words, my heart still ached dully. If that person isn't Gu Huan, then for me, it's all the same who I marry, so it's better to marry someone she likes. At least she'll be happy that way. This time, I didn't turn around and run away, so I heard Shinku's next words. Yuntang has suffered a lot by following me. I won't do anything. I still remembered that day. I left the company alone and wandered outside for a long time. I didn't go home until it was dark. People of my mother's generation always said that turning a blind eye and pretending not to see would make it through a lifetime. How many men in this world have one family at home and another outside, yet they still live well? I was raised by my mother, and her influence was inevitably imprinted in my thoughts. At that time, all I could think about was giving the child in my belly a complete family. It took me an afternoon to convince myself. My father passed away early, and my mother raised me alone. Life was not easy for us, an orphan and a widow. Because I didn't have a father, I suffered a lot of grievances, so I didn't want my child to suffer the same way. Shinku was a person with a high sense of morality. He wouldn't do anything substantial. As long as I could endure countless disgusting moments, as long as I pretended not to know anything, we would still be a good couple and good parents. In this way, at least my child could have a complete family. Both sets of parents could be at ease, and the company wouldn't be in turmoil. At that time, I considered everyone, but I didn't consider myself. I thought I was great and had once been immersed in this sense of sacrifice, until one day, my daughter Shinning said to me, "Mom, you don't have to smile when you don't want to. I've always wanted you to be happy, but I don't know how to make you happy. Even if my schoolwork is always the first in the class, you'll only be happy for a while and then quickly become depressed again." It turned out that those who love you can tell that you're not happy. In these years when I forced myself to be happy, my daughter Shinning had also been bearing the same pressure as me. I thought I was doing the best for my daughter, but I never asked her if she wanted it. It was only many years later that I realized that only when you truly love yourself can you have the ability to love others. An unhappy mother can't raise a happy daughter. This might be the reason why Shen Ning has been working nonstop and always been so anxious all these years. 3. I touched my belly that hadn't shown the pregnancy yet and said softly, this lifetime, I will be a happy mother and raise you to be the happiest baby in the world. In my previous life, after I convinced myself, I told Shenku about my pregnancy, and this matter completely put an end to Shenku's thoughts, but this time, I didn't want to do that. My child shouldn't be a tool. When I went to the hotel, Shenku's birthday party had already started. It was his 30th birthday, and it happened to be during the booming development stage of the company, so the party was held very grandly. Gu Huan was also there. After the divorce, she had lost a lot of weight and didn't smile as much. Her thin body swayed in the Chinese-style cheongsam. She stood beside Shenku, and the two of them stood side by side at the center of the crowd, looking very well matched. When she saw me coming, Gu Huan seemed a bit at a loss and wanted to give her position to me. Shenku instinctively grabbed her sleeve and explained dryly, Gu Huan is wearing thin clothes, and the air conditioner can't reach here. She had always been the center of attention, as long as the focus was not on her for a moment. It seemed to make people feel sorry for her. I smiled and walked forward. Standing on the other side of Shenku, it's okay, you can just stand here. We haven't seen each other for a long time, and it's convenient for us to talk. When the cake was pushed in, the waiter naturally handed the cake to Gu Huan, and she naturally took it. Compared to me, Gu Huan seemed more like the hostess of this party. When Gu Huan smiled, her eyes were as sweet as crescent moons, while singing the birthday song. She walked towards Shenku step by step. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to School Hunk Shen. Boss Shen, who was very competent and capable in the business world, rarely showed a bit of the awkwardness of a young lad. What school hunk? I'm already old. Gu Huan dipped a little cream and smeared it on the tip of Shenku's nose, with a bit of playfulness in her smile. You'll always be young in my eyes. I had never seen Shenku so happy before. There was a smile between his eyebrows and eyes. At the age of 30, in the prime of his life, his business was booming, and the girl he liked the most during his adolescence was by his side. This was Shenku's golden age. The moment the crystal lamp went out, the candle flames flickered on the cake. Shenku closed his eyes and lowered his head to make a wish. Was he wishing for such a day every year, or for lovers to finally get married? Anyway, I wasn't in his wish. My heart ached. It was as if Shi Yuntang at the age of 30 and my body was feeling sad. It took me a long time to recover. In fact, it was countless such moments that gradually dragged people down. I once thought I could endure it, but later I realized that I had overestimated myself. 4. When the party ended, Shenku was a bit drunk and almost fell when going downstairs. Gu Huan hurriedly went to help him, but he instinctively pushed her away and put his arm around my shoulder. In these years, since we started from scratch, we had seen too many dirty tricks at drinking parties. As a result, Shenku became more alert when he was drunk and would only feel at ease when he saw me. I saw Gu Huan's slightly disappointed look and comforted her. He's drunk. I'm afraid he didn't see clearly who you are. When I finally let go of my obsession with Shenku, I became more open-minded. It could be regarded as a repayment for Shenku finally blocking the car for me in my previous life. One was disgusted for a lifetime, and the other couldn't get the love they wanted for a lifetime. It's hard to say who was more pitiful between me and Shenku. Shi Yuntang, are you really willing? Gu Huan stood in the shadow, and I couldn't see her expression clearly. Soon, she smiled and waved at me, as if the words just now were just a dream. I'll go first. See you next time. This was the first time she clearly told me her intention. In my previous life, she hated me many times, but I had blocked her attempts without showing it. Regarding Gu Huan, I never knew what attitude to take towards her. When we were in college, my family was very poor. Gu Huan had a good family background, good looks, and a good personality. She was like a little sun shining on everyone. Everyone included Shenku and me. In the coldest winters, I got through them by picking up her clothes, although she didn't really look up to me. For example, the shoes my mother made with her own hands. She smiled and accepted them on the surface, but they soon appeared in the trash can. However, when judging someone, we should look at their actions rather than their thoughts. People's hearts can't stand scrutiny. During those warm winters, I finally owed her a favor and remembered her kindness. So later, after she got divorced and Shenku took extra care of her, I had no reason to say anything. So I was disgusted for a lifetime and trapped myself for a lifetime. Since I had already decided on this path, I had to swallow the sand and blood, only now did I realize that sunk costs shouldn't be included in the decision-making. 5. The autumn wind blew again at night. Shinku rubbed his fluffy hair against my chest. I carried Shinku to the car with some difficulty. Every time he drank, he would be particularly dependent on me. In these years, since the business had just started, there were always many drinking parties. Some honey water for sobering up was always prepared in the car. After drinking a cup of honey water, Shinku seemed a bit more sober, but not completely. He looked at me with a slightly aggrieved expression, curled up in the passenger seat like a stray puppy. Where's my birthday gift? On every birthday of Shinku's, I would prepare a gift for him, including those in the past that I hadn't participated in. He, like me, came from a poor family, when survival was the top priority. Gifts became a luxury. Sometimes I wondered if girls were born knowing how to love. Just like when I was a child, no one ever gave me a birthday gift, but I still wanted to make up all the gifts for Shinku. From the first year to the 30th year, I thought of the pregnancy test sheet lying quietly in my bag. This was originally the gift I prepared for him on his 30th birthday. Shinku frowned, thinking that I was angry because of what happened today. Gu Huan just got divorced and is feeling depressed. Today on my birthday, I just wanted to make her happy. Sorry, Yuntang, I didn't consider your feelings. I looked up at him, and he looked at me with full sincerity. Shinku was always like this. He could keenly sense the things that made me unhappy, apologize neatly, but still do the same thing next time. He spared no effort to help her with the divorce lawsuit, rented a house for her, found her a job, and when she was depressed, he raised a little dog with her. I still remembered that the dog's name seemed to be Zuitsui, and its nickname was Ai, which meant recalling the past. In order not to make me suspicious, he would ask me to go with him for all these things, so I was troubled whether I went or not. Because of these things, Shinku and I had many arguments. Later, we finally stopped arguing and also stopped talking. After giving birth to Anning, we started sleeping in separate rooms. And the Cold War lasted for nearly 20 years. Shinku still looked at me persistently, with his palms facing upwards, as if he wouldn't give up until he got the gift today. When he was drunk, he was like an unreasonable child. I slapped his hand away and, under his aggrieved expression, smiled and said, "Your gift hasn't arrived yet. Wait a few more days, and I'll give it to you." I once thought that people who understood each other were very suitable to be together. And Shinku and I were the same kind of people. We were from the same hometown and had both been admitted out of that poor small mountain village. We had the same poor family background, the same awkwardness, the same inferiority complex, and the same self-esteem. Most of the time, with just a glance, we could understand what each other was thinking. Later, I realized that people like us needed someone like a little sun to dispel all the dark corners in our hearts. Gu Huan was that little sun. A divorce agreement should be the best gift for Shinku. 6. Everything developed just like in my previous life. Gu Huan's divorce process wasn't smooth. Her ex-husband became an alcoholic after going bankrupt and would look for Gu Huan from time to time when he was drunk, so Shinku would always receive Gu Huan's calls at various times, including but not limited to, when sleeping, when eating, when having a meeting. Today, when the meeting was halfway through, Shinku's big mobile phone rang again. I didn't know how many times this had happened these days. This time, the supplier was a big order that we had always wanted to secure. It took a lot of effort to have this meeting. The meeting was interrupted by the successive phone calls, and Manager Chen showed an unhappy expression. "If your company doesn't have the sincerity, we don't need to discuss this order anymore." I quickly smiled and tried to soothe the supplier's emotions. The Longjing tea picked before the rain, the first batch of new shoots. Knowing that Manager Chen loves tea, I specially prepared it. "We're just thirsty from the discussion. Why don't we take a break?" Shinku looked absent-minded. He looked at me, hesitated for a long time, and then said, "Gu Huan was almost hit by a car just now and sprained her ankle. She's all alone in the hospital." I suddenly found it a bit ridiculous. Without family, relatives, or friends, she still called an old classmate of many years. Sure enough, people in love were like fools, and even a smart person like Shinku was no exception. I curled the corner of my lips and adjusted his tie for him. "It's okay, I'm here, you can go." He didn't care about making money, but I did. After all, I wanted my daughter to be a rich second generation. In the end, I successfully secured the business. By the way, I asked someone to estimate the company's cash flow and the assets under mine and Shinku's names. I also consulted a lawyer to find out how much I could get if we got a divorce. In fact, I have more talent for doing business than Shinku. I have a sharper vision, can see things more accurately, and am more ambitious. In my previous life, there were many opportunities for the company to double its assets, but they were all missed because he preferred to stay in his comfort zone. However, later I retreated to the rear. I gave birth to an and Shinku's mother fell seriously ill. Someone was needed at home. There needed to be someone to do the logistical work, and so, naturally, that person was me. The man takes care of external affairs, and the woman takes care of internal affairs. Everyone said so and did so at that time, and I didn't realize there was anything wrong with it. I didn't have much interest in the company. It was an antique that would eventually be eliminated by the times. In my previous life, I always wanted to carry out the company's reform, but I was restricted by various reasons. Now that I have a chance to live my life again, I have the ability and confidence to take my company to the next level. 7. After coming out of the hospital, Shinku said he wanted to arrange a job for Gu Huan and asked me if there were any suitable positions. I thought for a while and said, "Aren't you in urgent need of a secretary? I think Gu Huan is quite suitable." Shinku looked at me in surprise and asked hesitantly, "Is this appropriate?" I comforted him, "What's inappropriate about it? We're all old classmates and our own people. You can rest assured when using her." Shinku suddenly frowned and looked at me for a long time, then said, "Yuntang, you seem to have changed." I smiled and replied, "Everyone changes." So Gu Huan officially joined the company. Every day, she dressed beautifully and followed Shinku, mainly responsible for some reception work. Many times, she was mistaken for the boss's wife by customers. She smiled shyly, and Shinku didn't explain. People in the company were spreading the word that Gu Huan would be the next boss's wife and subtly warned me to be careful. I just smiled and didn't care. After all, I didn't care about the title of boss's wife. What I wanted to be was the boss, until the last moment of my previous life. Shinku didn't have any substantial actions. I even thought that if something really happened between them, it might be more beneficial for me in terms of property division in the divorce. When I no longer dwell on love, affection, and responsibility, my world suddenly became much clearer. Sometimes I even deliberately created an environment for them, hoping that they wouldn't let down my good intentions. 8. Shinku was busy helping Gu Huan with the divorce lawsuit, and I was even busier than him. In my previous life, a college student came to the company to seek investment. I saw his potential at a glance, but since I couldn't make the decision, it eventually came to nothing. Later, it turned out that I was right. He held his patent and became a well-known tech tycoon later. In this life, I was afraid that there would be any variables, so I took the initiative first. I walked around near the university town for several days in a row, and finally, I found Jiangqing. The person who would later be on the list of the wealthy was still just a poor student who couldn't even get enough to eat. I sat in front of him and said straightforwardly, "I hope to invest in your patent. You will have full decision-making power in the company." And I hope to invest in your patent. You will have full decision-making power in the company, and I will provide you with all the necessary resources and talents. Jiangqing looked up at me in a daze, swallowed the steamed bun in his mouth, and burped. I looked at him eagerly, waiting for his next words. After a while, he said quietly, "Do I look easy to deceive?" I was taken aback for a moment and then smiled. "I can take you to my company to have a look." Jiangqing was very defensive. I accompanied him to visit the company and the Science and Technology Park for an afternoon, and then he finally believed me. Securing Jiangqing's patent laid a solid foundation for my business blueprint. When I got home, it was already very late. It seemed that Shinku was waiting for me. He had fallen asleep on the sofa and only got up when he heard the commotion. "Why did you come back so late?" I casually found an excuse to perfunctorily answer him. Shinku followed me attentively. "Gu Huan has had too many things going on recently. Thank you for your hard work with the company's affairs these days." It was nothing more than an apology for ignoring me these days and a thank you for my hard work. There are some men in this world like this. They understand everything but don't change anything. His warm breath coiled around my neck, and his voice was hoarse. I held down his restless hand and said coldly, "I'm very tired." He turned over, and there was a hint of irritability in his tone. "Gu Huan just got divorced. She helped us a lot in the past. Now that we're doing well, it's normal to give her a hand. Without her, we might not have made it." Yuntang, we can't be ungrateful. In my previous life, I was trapped by the word kindness and endured everything, suffering losses everywhere. I was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. Many words can hurt you only if you care about the person who said them. But I no longer cared about Shinku. His words were just like the buzzing of flies in my ears. 9. My belly was getting bigger day by day, and my secretary, Xiao Lu, even asked me if I had gained some weight these days. I must get divorced before it's discovered and complete the independence of my personal company. If possible, I must obtain clear evidence of Shinku's infidelity, so the school anniversary became the best opportunity, remembering the past, reflecting on the hardships, and then getting drunk and losing one's senses. It would all happen naturally. I specially prepared a white shirt for Shinku, although he was already 30 years old. He looked a bit like a college student when wearing it. In college, this was the set of clothes he wore most often. He would hold a book and read in the pavilion, and there was still a steamed bun in his hand. He was good-looking. Even though the shirt had been washed until it turned yellow, he still had a clean and good-looking appearance. Before he left, I carefully ironed his clothes and then helped him put them on. Shinku looked at me quietly with his head lowered. Are you really not going? There's something to deal with at the company. If you don't go, aren't you angry when others make jokes about me and Gu Huan? I trust you. He looked at me for a long time and suddenly became a bit angry, saying angrily, I don't know what you've been busy with recently. Whatever, I'm leaving. I didn't know why he was angry. After Shinku left, I found Jiangqing. Jiangqing was an alumnus of my university. After getting along with him these days, I found that he was a pretty good candidate. When Jiangqing heard what I said, his eyes were shining, and he strongly recommended his roommates to me. He promised repeatedly that he would never miss any clue. The word watching the excitement seemed to be engraved in the DNA of Chinese people, especially when it came to catching someone in the act of infidelity. At this time, videos couldn't be sent, so they relayed the scene to me using a beeper throughout the process. Jiangqing had a good writing style and was humorous. I was even amused by what he said. Some things, when you don't consider yourself an insider, you'll find that they are absurd and ridiculous. When we were at school, everyone thought that Gu Huan liked Shinku. She always liked to put the drumstick from her bowl into Shinku's rice bowl and always liked to follow Shinku. She also gave Shinku clothes many times, but Shinku didn't accept them. So she asked other boys to give these clothes to Shinku, pretending that they were clothes the boys didn't want anymore. That's what she said. But who would really be willing to give up such new brand name clothes? It was more of a tacit understanding between the two parties. At that time, I really thought they would get together, and I was also very sensible and hid my feelings well. Until the day she introduced me to Shinku and then pushed me to confess my love to Shinku. Everything happened so unexpectedly. The person I liked when I was young was standing in front of me, so I lost my mind and wasted my whole life. It's just that there's probably always the principle of first come, first served in relationships. Gu Huan came earlier than me, so no matter how much I did later, I was always one step behind. 10. The situation between the two of them on the beeper was still developing. They had drunk a lot of wine. I specifically instructed Jiangqing to book a hotel for them so that things could develop naturally later. That night, I sat on the sofa alone for a long time. I had sat on this sofa many times waiting for Shinku to come home. I was very afraid that something would really happen between them and that one day Shinku would no longer come back to this home. So I waited on the sofa night after night until he came home. But I never thought that one day I would be waiting on this sofa for evidence of their infidelity. However, instead of waiting for the evidence of infidelity, the door was knocked on. Jiangqing supported the drunk Shinku with a look of despair. There were vomit stains all over Shinku's clothes. He's drunk and keeps calling your name. I hurriedly asked the aunt to support Shinku. Jiangqing looked at his clothes with pity. This is my only suit. I promised repeatedly that I would definitely reimburse him, and then he left, looking unhappy. After the aunt took off Shinku's dirty clothes, she placed him on the sofa. I stood by the sofa and looked at him for a long time. I didn't know how I felt at that moment. On the one hand, I was worried that the subsequent divorce would be a bit troublesome, and on the other hand, I was glad that Shinku was at least not a person without any bottom line. I sighed when I was about to leave. Someone grabbed the hem of my clothes. I turned around and saw that Shinku's eyes were red, and he asked me aggrievedly, Yuntang, why don't you care about me anymore? I tried to pull the hem of my clothes away, but he held it tightly, as if he had to get an answer. Finally, I squatted down and looked at him quietly, and he looked at me too. But isn't this what you want, Shinku? Tell me what exactly you want. Shinku didn't answer. He once asked me the same question, and I didn't answer either. When I was a child, I hoped that my mother would love me more than my younger brother. Later, I hoped that Shinku would love me. And later, my daughter Anning told me that I should love myself. Now, I will get everything I want and no longer need others to bestow it on me. 11. I hurried to let Jianqing choose a location, and the new production line began to be slowly laid out. He was as ambitious as I was, in short. Our technology couldn't be restricted by other countries. However, I still didn't have a suitable plan on how to maximize my benefits in the divorce. Just then, Gu Huan came along. I originally planned to support Gu Huan, just like keeping an idle person who was of no use. But she didn't seem to be willing to be a canary and was determined to make a name for herself in the business world. She wasn't smart. And Shenke's mind also seemed to be out of order. He handed the contract to her. The whole team worked day and night for a week, but all their efforts were in vain because of her mistake. I finally couldn't hold back my anger and shouted angrily, "How many times have I told you to check the contract several times before sending it out?" Gu Huan looked at me with red eyes and said aggrievedly, "I didn't do it on purpose." I tried to hold back my anger but still couldn't help it. I threw the contract in my hand at Gu Huan's face. "Just because you didn't do it on purpose, can you escape your responsibility?" The A4 papers fell like snowflakes in the air, but Gu Huan suddenly looked at me and smiled, then fell backward. I had watched so many palace intrigue dramas in my previous life, and this trick was so cliched that I was stunned for a moment. Next, the brainless male protagonist should appear and ask me why I did that. A plan suddenly took shape in my mind at this moment. Sure enough, Shenke helped Gu Huan up and looked at me angrily. "It's just a business. If this one fails, there will always be the next one. Do you have to be so aggressive?" I walked forward and, in Gu Huan's extremely shocked expression, slapped Shenke neatly. "Are you sober now?" I was about to slap Gu Huan again. As expected, Shenke pushed me to protect Gu Huan. This was exactly the push I was waiting for. I took advantage of the force and directly bumped into the table. With a pale face, I called for someone to call an ambulance. Shenke hurriedly came to help me. With tears in my eyes, I grabbed his hand. The baby, Shenke suddenly seemed at a loss, panicked, and was about to pick me up and run downstairs. 12. We had been looking forward to this child for a long time. When we were young, we were busy with our careers and ran around day and night. For the first child we conceived, before we even knew it had arrived, it was already gone. When we wanted to have a child, the child just wouldn't come for a long time. Over the years, every time I went to a temple, I would light a long burning lamp for that lost child, hoping that one day he would come back. So there was no better way than losing a child to gain a person's guilt, and guilt was an emotion that could be used to great effect. The hospital was a private hospital I had contacted a long time ago. As soon as I arrived at the hospital, I was immediately pushed into the operating room. The moment I was pushed into the operating room, Shenke knelt on the ground due to exhaustion. When I came out, he was still slumped on the ground. The doctor lowered his head and said to him apologetically, "I'm sorry, the child couldn't be saved." Shenke was stunned on the spot, his face as pale as a ghost. For the rest of the time, all I needed to do was close my eyes, turn my back, and pretend to be in a state of despair. During the few days I stayed in the hospital, Shenke stayed by my side every step of the way, many nights. I heard the sound of him tossing and turning. On the day of my discharge, I looked at him. "Let's talk." He hurriedly went to pack things, avoiding the topic. "There are so many things and they haven't been packed yet. The doctor will come to check us out soon. Just lie here. Shaoli will come to pick you up later. The wind outside is strong. You can't catch a cold." He kept packing things on his own, and I just watched him quietly. Finally, when all the things were finally packed and he finally had no reason to delay, "Can we talk properly now?" He remained silent. I sent him the document drafted by the lawyer. "If there's no problem, sign it." Shenke's lips moved, but in the end, he said nothing. Some things reach a certain point where both parties know there's no room for redemption. He signed his name without even looking at the contract. I left the company to him, split off one of his most promising departments, and took the talents there to Jiangcheng's new factory area. Standing on the highest point nearby and looking down at this place, construction vehicles and construction teams were working day and night. This place would be the most promising area in this city in the future. Everything was booming. 13. In the later stages of pregnancy, my belly got bigger day by day. Ningning in my belly was very well behaved during pregnancy. I hardly had any morning sickness. Instead, I was more energetic. On the day the company was officially established, Jianqing and I cut the ribbon together. The moment the red silk fell, Anning kicked me in the belly. I gently touched my belly and said with a smile, "You're happy for Mom too, aren't you?" She kicked again, as if really answering my question. After the pregnancy reached full term, Jianqing looked at me like I was a bomb about to explode at any time. He didn't have the heart to work anymore and just stared at me every day. There was no way. So I could only go to the hospital in advance and stay there waiting for the delivery. The days of waiting for the delivery were like waiting for an old friend I hadn't seen for a long time. My daughter was like a friend to me. She spread a lot of advanced ideas to me. She took me to many places. She said I was her genius mother and that I really had talent. No matter what happened, she always stood by my side without hesitation. In this marriage, I had too many regrets and too much unwillingness. But the only thing I didn't regret was having my daughter. There was a very important meeting in the company in the middle, and I went back for a while. I originally thought my daughter's birthday was still a few days away. Unexpectedly, just after the meeting, my water broke. Jianqing was so flustered that he fell while going to drive. He prayed all the way, extremely anxious. I only had some mild contractions at the moment and sneered, "The child isn't yours. Why are you in such a hurry?" His face was a few shades paler than mine. "You're my money-making god. Nothing must go wrong." When we arrived at the hospital, I was pushed into the delivery room. The delivery went smoothly. This was the first time in this life that I saw my daughter, and tears welled up in my eyes instantly. Other newly born babies were all wrinkled, like little old men. My daughter was different. My daughter was really beautiful. I only had one daughter, and I wanted to give her the best things in the world. 14. When I was discharged from the hospital and went home, Shinku was waiting downstairs. He seemed to have been waiting there for a long time. Frost had formed on his eyelashes. When he saw the child in the aunt's arms, his eyes suddenly turned red. His voice trembled with joy. "This is our child." I motioned for the aunt to take the child inside and said to him calmly, "No, this is my child." Shinku wanted to hold the child, but the aunt had already closed the door. "The child needs a father's love, Shiyuntang. You can't be so selfish." I looked at him and suddenly smiled. "There are plenty of people who can be like a father to my child. Which one are you? You don't have any evidence to prove that this child is yours. According to the principle of business negotiation, be tough first and then soft." Finally, I earnestly persuaded him, "Why bother? You'll have your own child in the future. Why hold on?" Shinku looked at me for a long time. "But I only want our child, the child between you and me. Gu Huan has gone abroad to settle down. I won't contact her again in the future." I had been waiting for this result for half of my life. It turned out that he knew the best way to deal with this matter, but he just pretended not to know. He let himself be immersed in his youth, enjoying the pleasure of being a hero saving the beauty. Even, did he really like Gu Huan that much? Does really liking someone make the other person seem like a third party? On one hand, he gave Gu Huan the wrong impression, and on the other hand, he never gave her any promise. At the beginning, Gu Huan didn't choose him but chose someone with better conditions. Whether there was resentment in his heart, only he knew. I suddenly found it a bit ridiculous. Indeed, the weak were easily bullied in this world. Jiangqing came at this time. He put his arm around my shoulder and winked at me quietly. "Honey, this is the ex-husband who was entangled with that old classmate. He looks a bit old. How can the old be as good as the young? Honey, you must be bored these days. Let me give you a massage." I endured the shiver down my spine and responded to him. Shinku looked at me in disbelief and anger and punched Jianqing. But after these years of living a life of comfort, how could Shinku be a match for a young man like Jianqing? He fell to the ground and looked up at me. I put the fallen glasses back on for him. Go back. 15. After that day, I didn't see Shinku for a long time. Later, I found out that there were some problems with his company. Shinku really wasn't very suitable for doing business. He would be affected by various personal matters and affect the company. A factory supported the livelihoods of hundreds of employees. In the previous life, he had it too easy. Now that something had happened, there was no way to turn things around. I acquired his company and upgraded the original production lines. When the child was 3 years old, Jianqing said he wanted to be the father of my child. I frowned and examined him, trying to understand what he was thinking. "Tell me you're joking." Jianqing shook his head. I took a deep breath. "Are you out of your mind? Do you like being a step-father so much?" Jianqing looked at me pitifully, seeing that I was angry. His voice became much smaller. It was just that day when Gu Huan went abroad to settle down. Shinku and I went to see her off together. Shinku stood on the platform of the plane, watching her back gradually disappear at the end. Exactly. I had a headache and my expression became much more serious. In business. We should talk about business. It's best not to mix other things among business partners. Jiangqing looked at me stubbornly. Don't worry. It won't affect the business. I was really at a loss and tried to persuade him euphemistically. Think about it in another way. I can have many men, but I only have you as a business partner. You're irreplaceable. Thinking like